listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
It's Wednesday night, time for the Paranormal Experience radio show with host Cat Hobson. Kick back, relax, and get ready to learn. Welcome to the show. Now, here's Cat.
Good evening. Welcome to Paranormal Experience Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited because the person that I am hosting tonight is one of my favorite people, and he's one of my favorite people in the paranormal also. We only met last year, and it just seemed like such a good mix and so positive, and it was fun. His name is McCallum, and people know him as an actor, as a stuntman. He is the founder with Kane Holder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He's the editor of Hollywood Ghost Hunter magazine. He has been in so many feature films. He was in Hatchet. He will be appearing at Scarefest this year, as well as other places. I'm not even sure where all those are, but we'll find out. And mainly, he's here. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hi, Kat. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, you know, I had so much fun getting to know you just in that short time that we talked and then developing that for the last year. You really are an interesting man. You have such varied interests and do all the things. How did you...
Well, yeah, it was strange when I met you because... it was like we instantly bonded. I mean, just like after about a minute. So it was really easy talking to you. So that was a lot of fun, I got to tell you.
It was kind of odd, wasn't it?
Yeah, just instantly. It's like I'd known you forever.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, well, I put that down to you having the same birthday as Scott.
Yeah.
Synchronicities.
Me and Scott were like the same size, same birthday. You know?
Same personalities to a large extent. You're a little...
Yes, except for I don't wear a pink tutu and let people shoot me with a paintball gun.
True that. I was sitting there watching that man doing a match game thing at Mid-South Paracon, and off came the shirt. And I'm like, why, yeah, that's my Scott. So it was funny. But...
Oh, he's a good guy. I like Scott a lot.
He has got one of the best hearts going. I agree with you.
Well, you have to tell people. You can't just say Scott. You have to say Scott Grunwald so they know who we're talking about.
Absolutely. But, well, you know, he was one of the headliners at the Mid-South Paranormal Convention last weekend. And you're one of the headliners at Scarefest coming up in a few weeks. So I'm going to get to see all of my favorite people here this year. I'm excited about that.
I get to hang out with Kat. That's cool. I'm always up for that.
Well, I would like to know, this is not paranormal, but I would like to know how you got into acting. And I tell people all the time when I talk about your stunts, how intense the design of those is, because somebody had asked if you didn't get hurt doing that, and you said, well, not if I do my job right.
Yeah, you know what's funny, too? Kane always talks about that. He goes, I hate it when I hear stunt people talk about how many times they broke bones. All that means is they didn't do it the right way. Right? So, yeah, it's setting up stunts is a lot harder than people think. I mean, especially if you're dealing with actors, because now you have somebody else's safety in your own hands.
Yes.
You know, so that you have to put a lot of thought in that and make sure everything is as safe as it can possibly be. So, you know, it's actually fun, but it's also a lot of stress.
Well, there's a lot of science involved. I mean, because you have to have trajectories and all these other things, the point of impact and which way do you go when that occurs. There's so much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so funny because when people talk about stuntmen, they say they're all daredevils, and nothing could be further than the truth. I mean, we map out everything, I mean, because most of the time it's us.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane and I did a movie in, where the heck was that? South Carolina? No, it was in the Hamptons a couple of years ago. And we had a girl standing between our two cars while we were driving at 42 miles an hour. Now, she had a harness on, but that's still something that's, what happens if something goes wrong with the harness? What happens, if you have to make a quick turn? What happens? Blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, we had to really figure that one out. And we did that about 25 takes because they were doing all different angles and everything else. I think most people think when you see a movie that what they shot is the only one that we did. I mean, there's so many angles and everything else that they do, but not one time did we're going around corners and stuff, so not one time did we touch cars. So that was
wow.
That was pretty good. I mean, I was pretty proud of that.
Should have been. That's pretty awesome. Well, I just find that I find that a lot scarier than ghost hunting. I really
well,
do.
yeah. I mean, in real life, it is scarier
is.
because you can actually get very, very hurt. Like you don't know anybody who's ever gotten really hurt ghost hunting.
No, I know people who thought they were going to, but as a rule,
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at the William Heath Davis house in San Diego, and so I was on a staircase, and something shoved me from behind, and I almost went flying headfirst down the stairs, but I caught myself.
Well, thank goodness.
It was a good thing I was starting to sit down, and my big butt was aiming towards the ground to begin with, or I definitely would have got launched through the air.
I have been touched. I have had my hair stroked. I have been called names, but I've never had someone actually try to cause harm. Thank God.
Yeah, that was an interesting night because something happened there that night. Other than that I just don't have an explanation for. We were all sitting there. I was a guest. Me and a girl that I know, Brandy. We were guests of the San Diego Ghost Hunters, and they had out a spirit box, and we're sitting there on the floor listening. Now, William Heath Davis House is actually a museum, and it's got an 8-foot wrought iron fence around it. And the spirit box goes, "Beware, outside, men, wasted, police." Right?
Right.
So we're thinking, what's that all about? And the girl was the docent there looked out the window, and there's 3 guys trying to pry open the door to get into the thing.
Oh my
so she
Lord.
opens up the door and hollers at him, says, you gotta go away. This is a museum. And they said they were drunk, right? Wasted.
Right.
Men outside, beware. I think it said danger too. But anyway, she starts hollering at him. They give her a hard time. So I go out there and I walk up to the gate and I said, "Beat it." And they said, "We're coming in." I said, "No, you're not." They said, "Who's going to stop us?" I said, "You want me to open the gate and show you?" Right?
Oh my goodness.
So they started getting a little lippy, and into my mind popped the thing where it said "wasted police." So I looked at them. I said, "Do you want me to just call the cops on you for breaking in?" So they just told me, to
right.
do something that I can't anatomically do, and walked off. So, yeah, I'm not anatomically that supple.
You are. Well, what was that house like to investigate? What was it called? Will you tell me again?
The William Heath Davis House.
What was that like?
And well, it's a 2-story. It's actually, if I recall, the oldest building in San Diego, and they've turned it into a museum. But it's actually very active. We've heard voices, all kinds of things. The very first thing that ever happened there, and it's so weird. I walk in the door, and the girl Maritza, who was the person who invited me, is standing there, and she goes, "Oh, I just saw a shadow go in the back room." I said, "Let's go." So I take off down the hallway, and I go in there. And I go walking in the room, and I get in there, and a big growl comes out of the room, right? And I turned around and looked up and said, "Did you hear that?" And she goes, "Yeah, I heard that." I said, "What was it?" She goes, "I don't know, it was a growl." I said, "Yeah, I heard it too." But what is weird is about a year later, she calls me up. She goes, you know what? The guy that first thing here had a huge dog that always used to sleep outside that was kind of famous. And I said, oh, okay, well, that might be it, because something sure as hell didn't want me going in there.
Wow, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, when I was out there, I wanted so much to go and investigate all the things, and I didn't really have time because, transit times. But is that the best place for investigation that you have found in that area?
Whaley House was pretty good. That's a pretty, actually a world-famous haunted thing in San Diego. That was pretty good. In that area, yeah, I would say that would be the two best. There's other areas up in L.A. that are, that are really good. The Omen House, for one.
Yeah. I have not had a chance to interview David, but I have heard him interviewed, and that just, to me, sounds like there's so much evil still lurking in that.
I've been there many, many times ghost hunting.
Did you feel that way?
I don't get an evil vibe off of the place. I get an active vibe. I mean, his hallway on his second floor, every time I go there, I just take my night vision camera and set it on the ground and let it run, and I always catch something in the hall. Matter of fact, if people go to HollywoodGhostHunters.com and go to the evidence and then look for hallway 1, hallway 2, and they're like maybe 30 seconds apiece.
Okay.
And you can take a look at what we caught at Omen's house. Judge for yourself what it actually is.
Well, I love reviewing other people's evidence because you learn so much, right? And especially when it's someone who's going to tell you, the environment that when that was happening and, the equipment that was in play so that you can have a really good feel for what was going on at the time. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Now, I was going to say that one of my guys, Robert Pendergraft, who's a world-class special effects man. As a matter of fact, he did a lot of the, most of the special effects makeup for all the Hatchet series. So he did the Victor Crowley makeup and all that stuff that Kane was in. But he came up with an idea that we started incorporating, which was after we'd been in for a while, go outside and leave the house alone for like 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
And because I've always been of the feeling that if you put a camera on a tripod, you might miss stuff that's lower. So I always set the camera on the floor, right? And so I could see the entire thing. So nothing can be going underneath it. You know what I mean? It can't be a dog's tail. You're on the floor.
It's logical.
So anything that you actually see is something that's on the same level as the camera, unless it's higher. So that's always a good thing. And in the case of two things that we got there, pretty interesting. And that same hallway, my friend Richard Friedman, who's a director, he's following me, and I walk down the hallway, and I turn off the light, and I walk maybe 2-3 steps, and the lights turn on. And this is actually in there, too. It'll say lights under the evidence section. And I'm standing there, and you see him. He puts the camera on. He turns it off. And I start to walk, and the lights turn on again. So I'm standing in there, and these are all recessed lights on one line that go down the whole length of the hallway. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, they start flickering, different lights going off at different times, which anybody knows electricity, if it's on the same line, it can't do that,
Right.
So that was pretty freaky. Actually, I got David Oman is on the thing, and we were telling him what's happening. He goes, no, it can't do that. We got it on tape. We'll show you. So the Oman House has some interesting things. A lot of stuff has happened there.
Well, I have heard about it. I have been interested in it. I'm always, because usually I'm traveling by myself, and I just have to, go with groups that I'm not familiar with, which is kind of nerve-wracking in haunted houses that are notorious anyway. But I think I am, when I'm out there next year, I think that is definitely going to be a go-to.